And let me tell you, from what I've heard, those perverts will pay a lot of money.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Smark Avengers. My name is Corey, and with me is Dylan and John. How's it going, guys?
Why is it always me saying something really like
To
How
quote,
did you not know it was coming, though?
to quote,
always
How
gets
did
in
you not
trouble?
know?
Do you know some days I do, and then some days it happens, and I'm like, oh.
to quote Tom York, you do it to yourself. So, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. So,
Mhm.
of course, in traditional Smark Avengers fashion, when we talk about this will be old news. But this last weekend, 3 or 4 weeks ago, if you're of course watching this live, Marvel made a big announcement that CB Cebulski, who has been their editor-in-chief, has been replaced by Steve Wacker, who will be the new Marvel editor-in-chief, while CB Cebulski heads to head up Marvel's offices in Japan to help integrate more manga and what have you, I guess. I don't really know what they're doing over in Japan these days. With the introduction of a new editor-in-chief, that of course means the potential for major changes coming over to Marvel. And that's something we've kind of been talking about has been needed for quite a while. I mean, we've had several episodes over the last few months that have been sort of like, hey, Marvel's kind of fucking up right now. Like, it's really boring. Like, there's nothing of interest happening in Marvel Comics at the moment. And all of that has been under Cebulski's watch.
Mhm.
I'm sure that we'll get into talking a little bit about some of the decision making that was happening under CB Cebulski, as well as kind of get to what this episode's going to be about. But I decided to do a tiny bit of research before we got started today, and I thought, would you guys like to know the history of the editors in chief at Marvel?
Of course.
Because, like,
Yes.
a weird factoid is Cebulski was like the third or fourth longest running editor in chief they've ever had, which is weird to think about.
2 months.
Some of these about. So of course, Marvel's first editor in chief was of course Stan the Man Lee from 1961 to 1972. Um,
Okay.
you would think he would have done it longer because he is such a fixture of Marvel Comics. When you think of Marvel, you think of Stan. But no, he ran until 1972. Of course, he saw the big switch from Timely over to the Silver Age of Marvel, the introduction of all their iconic characters, etc. After Stan stepped down, his successor was Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas was editor in chief at Marvel from 1972 to 1974, so only 2 years.
Uh-oh.
Yep, yeah, I will tell you that's going to be a running theme because some of these are not very long lasting. After him was Lin Wayne, and Lin was the editor in chief for Marvel Comics from 1974 to 1975, only 1 year. After
Yeah.
Lin was Marv Wolfman, who I did not realize Marv Wolfman was editor in chief at Marvel at any point, which he might not either because his run was from 1975 to 1976, another 1 year run. Then we have Jerry Conway after Marv Wolfman, which was just 1976. He was perfectly encapsulated in that one part of the year because he was replaced by Archie Goodwin, who was editor-in-chief from 1976 to 1978.
Okay.
After Archie Goodwin, we have Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter, of course, we all know Jim. He was the editor-in-chief for the second longest run from 1978 to 1987, so he almost got 10 years out of it. After Shooter, we had Tom DeFalco, who had 1987 to 1994. Not a bad run in comparison to some of these others. And then in 1995, Marvel just didn't have an editor-in-chief. When DeFalco stepped down, they did not have a single replacement, so instead they had five editors working concurrently, which was Bob Budiansky, Bobby Chase, Mark Grunwald, Bob Harris, and Carl Potts. Bob Harris apparently impressed people the most because he was the editor-in-chief from 1995 to the year 2000. After him, we have our friend Joe Quesada, who, by the way, I misspoke. Jim Shooter was the third longest running editor-in-chief. Joe Quesada was 2000 to 2011, so we got 11 years out of it.
Okay.
So we all know Joe Quesada. He was the editor-in-chief for the Disney merger. He oversaw a lot of the big shifts in Marvel, the big swings and misses, the Ultimate Universe, the Brand New Day, Avengers Disassembled. A lot happened under Joe because previously under Bob was very X-Men focused, and everything else kind of fell to the wayside. So after Quesada, we had Axel Alonso, who ran from 2011 to 2017. And then, of course, we end with CB Cebulski, who went from 2017 to 2026. So another almost 10-year run. So that puts him around a tie with Jim Shooter for third longest running editor-in-chief. Here's the thing, though. I cannot remember too much interesting stuff that happened under Cebulski's run. Because everything I've been thinking of like big Marvel moments since the 2000s were Joe Quesada or Axel Alonso. Only thing I can think about with Cebulski was Krakoa. And you can't think of Krakoa without also thinking about how Krakoa ended and then From the Ashes and all of the middling X-Men run we've had since. So
You mean great X-Men run.
Yeah. Because like even then, like Cebulski's big thing was Axel Alonso was a very contentious editor-in-chief. Axel did not mind fighting with people. And Axel was the guy behind the Jane Foster Thor run, Sam Wilson becoming Captain America, Kamala Khan being introduced. Axel was very big on shaking up the status quo because he sort of was like under the tutelage of Quesada, and Quesada did the same thing. Like, let's shake things up. The difference was that a lot of people kind of liked what was happening under Joe Quesada in certain instances, and a lot of Axel's shakeups were really alienating for some people. Like, people didn't like that Thor was now Jane Foster. They didn't like that Captain America was now Sam Wilson. They didn't like Kamala Khan getting, like, pushed in all of these books. These people...
I mean, there was definitely some stuff that Joe Quesada did that people were not a big fan of.
Oh, absolutely. We've talked about some of them, for sure. For sure.
A lot of them. So,
a lot of the X-Men stuff getting, like, downplayed.
Or the Spider-Man thing, as we talked about. But I think that's part of it. Like, as that editor-in-chief, you kind of have to take those risks.
Yes.
Because that's how you print money. Like, if you don't, then it's just a really samey book that nobody remembers, which I think is Corey's point in that
Cebulski.
This last guy didn't do a fucking thing that anybody remembers.
Cebulski's big push was marrying the classic Marvel with a lot of Axel's changes. So you have what I kind of always think of as the DC Comics problem, which is we have a million Green Lanterns, we have two guys that call themselves Robin, we've got two Green Arrows, we've got like multiple versions of all these characters. And when Cebulski came on, Sam Wilson is still Captain America, but Steve Rogers is back. Jane Foster is still around sometimes as Thor, but Thor Odinson's back. That was kind of his big deal, was trying to bring both worlds together in a have your cake and eat it too kind of way, to kind of middling success, in the sense that like I said, this era of Marvel that we've been in for the last few years has been really boring. So, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Steve Wacker. Are you familiar with Steve Wacker?
The name rings a bell. Did he used to be an X-Men editor back in the day?
Yes, he has a very long list of editing credentials behind him. He was editing 52, which was the big Grant Morrison, Mark Waid DC Comics storyline where they told like a weekly comic for a year that led to all these big changes. He is the editor for It's Jeff, which we all know, the lovely little land shark creature. But yes, no, he has a lot of editing credentials under his belt. He's also kind of like Axel Alonso, and he's not really afraid to rub people the wrong way and get out there. And Cebulski, for all intents and purposes, a lot of people say was just a really nice guy. As we make the Akira Yoshida jokes that we do, Cebulski has a reputation for being a really pleasant person. That's
nice, as long as he's a nice guy.
Kind of, yeah. It's I don't want to say it's the Tony Khan thing, but it is definitely like when he left, a lot of creators were like, "Oh, what a great job Cebulski did. He's so fun." And it's like Jim Shooter, I think when he left, I think people were actively celebrating when Jim Shooter still was removed as editor-in-chief. Like, it seems that like to be to be an editor-in-chief, you kind of have to be an asshole a little bit.
I would imagine so. Like, it's a hard job.
Like,
but it has to be hard. You can't just half-ass that.
No. I mean, because you're in charge of the line, basically.
Yeah, you're in charge of like the whole comic thing. Like,
Quesada pissed off a lot of people with a lot of the change. I mean, we talked about Brand New Day, obviously.
Yeah, we did.
And Axel followed up and kept it going. But yeah, I mean, Quesada was not afraid to rub people the wrong way, including longtime readers. So all of that being said,
he felt robbed.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, against the grain on that one. But
it's the worst way to rob somebody.
No, you don't want to go against the grain. Anyway, yes. So not a lot of really interesting stuff happened under Cebulski, which ultimately led to this kind of era of nothing really exciting happening in Marvel. Like, you know, we're having like these kind of, I don't want to, it's a big swing, but it's not a good big swing. Like, you have Mary Jane as Venom, for example. That's a huge swing if you think about it, but it's not a good swing. It's sort of like, why? And we've talked enough about Mary Jane as Venom to say that. Like, why are we doing that?
It doesn't feel like a big swing as opposed to, like you said, it feels like a very weary kind of, this is what we're doing now kind of swing. Yeah. It doesn't feel like an earth-shattering, like, game-changing. You gotta read Spider-Man. Because if anything, it made a lot of people go, I don't want to read Spider-Man now. This doesn't sound appealing.
It feels kind of weird. And, like, there was this short period, because I think it's Jed McKay who's been writing Moon Knight for a few years now. And there was this period where Mark died, and there was a new Moon Knight for like 6 or 7 issues. And there was the big reveal that, you know, like, oh, who's the new Moon Knight? And it was just some other street level character that didn't really amount to anything. It's like, that's not the reveal that you want. Like, if you're going to do that, it has to be a big deal. It has to be something either like completely out of left field in a grandiose way, or something that makes sense for the character. When they did the first From the Ashes, one of the first books they announced was X-Force, which is like the Forge team. And there was this big masked guy. And it's like, who's this guy? And then in the final issue, because this series got canceled, they revealed it was Colossus. Why? Why was he wearing a mask and going by the name Tank? He could have just been, you could have just said, hey, Colossus is on the team, and it would have done nothing different than what they attempted to do with the book. It's not even that the Colossus had done something that he had to hide his identity from. It's just that suddenly Colossus is wearing this mask and calling himself Tank for no reason.
Do you think that the other people in the X-Men book saw this guy who was wearing a mask and also
a thick
was
Russian
made out of metal? Talk with a Russian accent. They're like, it could be anybody.
I mean, Banshee, is that you?
It could be Jubilee. We don't know.
Yeah. Oh boy,
we don't know.
So it's like, so yeah, you have all these like little things like that, but it's like it's not anything exciting. They made this big, like, when they tried to make Ghost Rider relevant again, and they're like, oh, there's this new demon that's on Earth, the Spirit of Violence. And it's like, all right, well, we have the Spirit of Vengeance. Who's the Spirit of Violence? And it's like, oh, it's Danny Ketch's sister. And you're like, oh, Danny Ketch's sister who died in like the first half of like Howard Mackey's Ghost Rider in the 90s. Like, that's not like big or earth shattering. It's like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
But that's like what they did with Spider-Man. With they brought Ben Reilly back again, and then they made him an evil person, and they made him Chasm.
Yeah,
who like hangs out with Goblin Queen, and you're like, okay, cool, but like bringing these two characters back, like in the even in the short term, you're like, nobody thinks that this is gonna have any kind of like long-lasting, catastrophic, happenings throughout the Marvel comic. This is just a storyline that happened with characters that you thought would be fun and kind of shocking to bring back, but nothing of any consequence will happen from this. This is maybe why I'm so annoyed about the Mary Jane as Venom thing, because you're like, it's a shitty idea. It's just not fun to watch. But I also feel like it's gonna have like no consequences. It's gonna go back to Eddie Brock, and then they're gonna tootle on, at least with
at some point,
McDonald There was an element of like, all right, well maybe he's the new Venom now, because they stuck with that for a while.
Well, and then
and
they integrated him into Thunderbolts and then Dark Avengers.
but they also had Eddie as
Anti-Venom,
anti-Venom,
yeah.
and you're like, okay, cool. There's like a thing going on here. Consequences are happening. Things are moving on. But Mary Jane as Venom just feels like a really long like gap between Venom becoming Eddie Brock again.
Yeah, there's
It's
just
like
I
they're
said,
wasting time to get to WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
yeah, there's just been a lot under Cebulski's watch that like just doesn't feel like it amounted to anything, or it fizzled out. With one of the big things that people got really excited for was like this new Ultimate Universe that they said, well, I mean, it's ending, so don't get too excited about it. And then it ended, and people were bummed out because it's like, well, this was exciting, and they were like, well, yeah, but if we kept it going, then eventually you would have gotten tired of it. And it's like, well, then just okay, because like that's what happened with
Don't do it.
Krakoa. And it's like, no, what happened with Krakoa is you kept pushing it along when it was done. Like Krakoa had an endpoint that Hickman had in mind as well. And I understand we were like, well, it's going off, so we got to keep it going. Keep it going, but you kept it going too long. Like a lot of those other books that got released, they didn't like. There was a lot of good that came out of Krakoa, and I know John, you've been reading a lot of Krakoa, so you can attest to some of it. The first Marauders book, a lot of people really liked. Second Marauders book, not so much.
No.
Excalibur, Knights of X, don't know anyone who really enjoyed those books. Fallen Angels lasted for like 4 or 5 issues.
I quite enjoyed that one.
Yeah, just it only went like 4 or 5 issues. Yeah. So it's like there was a lot of stuff, like X Factor like came and went, you know? Like for as many books as they put out, only some of them were really good and were worth sticking with. And that happens when Marvel does these big lines. Like they do too many books and the quality is just not there. I mean, I remember X-Corps. Did you read X-Corps, John?
I believe I did. Is that the one with Angel as like the CEO?
Yeah. Angel and Monet St. Croix as CEOs of the X Corporation, where they're making pharmaceutical drugs. Right, Dylan? Out of the weird flowers that Krakoa grows.
Oh, and a lot of people were like, "We want to see this."
Yeah,
I mean, they made a book.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yep.
Yes, they did.
So yeah, and like Avengers has felt kind of like a middling title. It's Cebulski's run has been kind of boring. At best, it has a good idea that goes for a little bit, and at worst, it's boring and fails. Because like the books getting relaunched after 10 issues, that was under Cebulski's watch. You know, like we talked about it. Like, how is Iron Man, who is like arguably one of Marvel's most popular characters based off of the fucking movies, how can Iron Man get canceled at issue 10, but Poison Ivy at DC's on issue 43? Again, Cebulski's watch. Like you have to hold him accountable for stuff. Like, why is it that like you have your marquee players and you don't have the talent on it that is putting out the ideas that make them the big sellers? And I mean, because like ultimately we talked about like how the Cosmic line fell apart. I'm not going to hold that against Cebulski. It's Cosmic Marvel. It's always a crapshoot.
Boring.
Exactly. It's a crapshoot. Sometimes the books are really well received, but they're never going to have a big readership.
Yeah.
But like Iron Man should.
Well, I agree with that, but I feel like one of the things they were doing that we did talk about in a different episode, maybe it was the Cosmic Marvel one, but there was an episode where we were like, they were announcing all these books that were going to come out.
Yeah.
And then they went to like issue 10. Some of them went to like issue 7 or whatever.
6.
Before they got canceled. Yeah, like you're not sticking with whatever plan you have, which must be a nightmare for the team that are writing those books. Because if you're the editor-in-chief and you have all these books going on, you've commissioned all these books to happen.
Yes.
It's your call whether or not these books happen. You let them happen. You have the team in place, and then you arbitrarily say, "No, we got to cut this off at the roots." That was part of the problem with Krakoa, is that they were just like, "No, cut this off right now," it won't have the space it needs to breathe. That's an editor issue. That's his call. So that was happening a lot where these books were getting commissioned that were supposed to have like 10 issue runs or more, and we're just getting cut off before they got started. That's an editorial. He made that call. He was
Yeah.
the one that was like, "We got to cut this off now." But he was also the one that was like, "We're going to make these books in the first place."
Yeah.
If you have no confidence that those books are going to sell, then you shouldn't be giving them the promise of a 10 issue run and then cutting it off at issue 6, because then whatever story they were going to tell will never get told, or will be like compressed and will be horrible anyway. You're going to get a bad story. It's either something that people don't want to read, that you have no confidence in, or it's something that people haven't had the chance to fully flesh out, and therefore will feel rushed and horrible. Either way, that's a bad look, because that seemed to happen a lot under the last guy. These issues and stories that were coming out that would just get cut off all the time, and that's gonna be
Mhm.
bad for like the readers can't be having a good time, the writers can't be having a good time. Can you imagine the artists? Like
Yeah.
art takes a long time to plot out. If you have all this shit done and they're like, no, you're not gonna get paid for all the art that you might have started sketching out. Forget that. It's not happening. Like that's gotta be a fucking pain in the ass, And that can't be a healthy working environment.
No, imagine it's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of stress, I imagine.
I would say so. I can't imagine that would be a good time.
So what we're getting at is that Steve Wacker has a lot on his plate. I imagine
Yes.
he's going to want to come out strong with a lot of ideas to, if some people are not maybe as cynical as we are, right the ship, so to speak. But at least make his leadership and his idea of what Marvel should be felt.
Yeah, you need to leave like an imprint.
Yes. So anyway, Steve Wacker has a lot on his plate, obviously. And so we kind of got the idea of playing fantasy booker a little bit, to use an old internet wrestling adage. The booker being the person who, decides what's going to be on the show and how it's going to happen. We're going to do kind of fantasy editor in chief. If we were the ones who were offered the editor in chief role at Marvel after Cebulski, what are 3 changes that we would make? Or, 2 or 3 changes that we would make first day. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to do like one each and we just go around the horn a couple of times, or if one person wants to do all 3 of theirs.
We'll probably go right.
Yeah, let's just go around the horn then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my first thing that I would do, and this will be very unpopular for the very reason that Dylan you just discussed, that Midnight Marvel imprint that they just announced a few months ago, where it's like the X-Men are going to be vampire hunters and the Fantastic Four have cosmic horror and Spider-Man's like a radiation monster man. No, we're pulling the plug on that. We're not putting that out. That is too much like chase it, like the dog chasing its own tail. It felt very reactionary to what DC's doing with Absolute over on their end, where it's like, we're going to take all of our iconic characters and do dark stuff with them.
Mhm.
And before then, DC was doing Deceased and other kind of like horror based books. And for Marvel to be like, we're going to do a horror based line. Well, you did Marvel Zombies, which is iconic, but also as someone who reads a lot of like stuff, but that's from the smaller publishers this day, the market on horror is well covered. And just because it's Spider-Man in horror, and just because it's the Fantastic Four in horror, or X-Men in horror, I just don't think that it's worth it to take up shelf space and put those creative teams on something you're going to get something a little bit more out of than that, personally.
Mm.
Also, does anyone actually read Spider-Man to see him in horror situations, or the X-Men against like horror characters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only Absolute book I've been reading is Absolute Green Arrow. In Absolute Green Arrow, the main character is Black Canary, because Green Arrow is this masked serial killer who's going around killing billionaires and CEOs, which is in line with Green Arrow being a very left-wing leaning character. It's like, all right, we'll take him to his logical extreme. He's now so far left-leaning that he's actively killing pedophile billionaires. and is getting celebrated as kind of a hero for it in a weird dark way over in the Absolute universe. So it makes sense in that line, but it just feels like the X-Men as vampire hunters is like, I don't know. Don't know. But that's my first idea. I would do exactly what DC Comics did when they said, "Hey, Dan DiDio's idea for 5G. No, we're not doing that. Get rid of it. It's going to cause some pain. These people who have been working on stuff, they're going to get paid regardless, but their stuff's not coming out and that sucks for them, but we're not wasting time." Dylan or John, would you like to go next?
What do you think, John?
I'll go next. So I wanted to going back to what we were sort of talking about with these sort of failed runs that kind of get cut short and stuff. It sort of connects to that a little bit, but I would like to go back to the legacy numbering and just rather than keep splitting books up into different volumes where it sometimes doesn't feel like there's much continuity between each volume as well, where every single one almost seems to start with a new status quo where things change and whatnot from the previous run. If you go back to the early days of Marvel, for the first I don't know 30 odd years or whatever, it all felt like it was running continuously. If you read Iron Man, there was some sort of progression from issue 1 through to issue 300. But now it's sort of all split up, and a bit more stilted. So I think getting back to legacy numbering and trying to keep continuity in a way between each different runs when different writers come in or whatever would just make the books feel a bit more it's the same book even if it's a different writer.
Yeah.
And it kind of embraces the history of the numbering as well. I think Spider-Man 1000 is coming out pretty soon, and that should absolutely be celebrated. That's an amazing achievement, and do that for other books as well. I know I don't think any other Marvel book is really coming up to a milestone like Spider-Man is, but you can still absolutely do that and celebrate Fantastic Four 800 or whatever. So embrace it.
I have to say I've never been a big fan of the idea that large numbering scares people off. I don't know where they get this. I feel like a lot of industry professionals have this weird negative opinion on prospective readers. Case in point, DC has been doing their legacy number for a while now. This is Detective Comics issue 1110.
Huh.
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Perfect.
yeah, and it I don't know. I've never been afraid of jumping on points. We talked about that in the Daredevil episode. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm of the agreement with John. I feel like legacy numbering is not this big scary thing. And I think when you see a bunch of number ones each and every week, someone who does a whole fucking show about new number ones, and I have to wade through the Marvel and DC ones because I'm not reading those. It is there is a lot of Marvel and DC number ones that get put out, and there just doesn't need to be.
Actually, because they're gonna get cancelled after issue 6.
Typically, yeah. So what's the point?
It's so cynical as well, putting out a new number one just to get that
That bump?
initial sales boost.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the bomb. Just write a good book for fuck's sake.
Mm.
It's also Iron Man. If you have a good story on Iron Man, people are gonna read Iron Man. It's fucking Iron
Yeah.
Man. It's it's not that complicated. It's not like you're trying to sell him on a obscure character. I get if you want to relaunch Guardians of the Galaxy or something, or even then, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, no,
Well, that's funny you would say that, Corey, because my first thing as editor in chief, which might also be my last thing as editor in chief, is listen. Why don't we make Tony Stark addicted to heroin? No. we already know he's got a very addictive personality because he's addicted to alcohol. He's also like a narcissist. He's addicted to fame and like applause, right? That's not talked about, but we know that as Tony Stark, he loves the
Yeah, 'cause that
limelight.
dopamine hit.
Exactly. He's got a very clear addictive personality. That's not just like superficial. Like it's very clear in his personality. But I also think that the addiction thing brought him a lot of vulnerability, whereas being addicted to fame is just obnoxious, which is part of Tony Stark's character for sure. But it grates on you for a while. If you went back to him being an alcoholic, you'd be like, they've already done this. But if we give him a new thing to be addicted to, for example, heroin, and that's something fun. He would be sleeping when he's driving the suit.
Jarvis is always on autopilot.
That's really funny.
There's this
You just go for little naps.
we were talking about like Marvel and horror. I remember there was a Marvel horror story where like Iron Man's suit was like killing him slowly.
Yeah.
And like he couldn't take the
Yeah.
suit off because he was just like essentially like meat and bones in there now. I do like this
It's like
weird idea that like he's so fucked up that he doesn't realize that he's actually like fighting crime because AI, like it's just Jarvis like autopilot and like automated defenses and stuff the whole time, and just like Tony's just like passed out in a stupor inside the suit the whole time.
Right, so you can do the heroin and the AI, so he's still Iron Man, but he's also wildly addicted to heroin, so nobody notices for a long time. And then it becomes like an even, because that's a big topic of conversation that people aren't willing to talk about. I know we laughed about this a minute ago. Heroin addiction is actually a very serious condition. It has affected so many of the celebrities we grew up and watched and enjoyed as youngsters right up until the current day. So I think that that's a very important thing that nobody's really talking about in that kind of let's explore this topic more kind of light, you know?
I do want to see an
I
emotional breakdown of
thought like, no, fuck it, let's give him a different addiction. You were saying,
yeah.
Nobody's reading Iron Man anymore. But if we give them a reason, they'll be like, "What? He's a heroin addict. Let me see this." They're gonna flock to that book.
I would like there to be an emotional moment in the book where like Tony Stark hears "Under the Bridge" by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's like, the song makes so much sense now. I too am under the bridge right now.
I think it's funnier if he listens Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. What's this shit?
Dylan, not a fan of the funk infusion of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I used to love the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Like most people, but
Their
then you hit puberty.
Well, their newer stuff has been pretty, I'm going to say garbage. And when I say newer stuff, I mean from Stadium Arcadium onwards has been fucking awful.
Right back in the order. I would break Marvel into bubbles. They already do it, but they're not defined enough bubbles. Like there's the X-Men world and there's the Spider-Man world, and then they just kind of have the rest, right? So I would very quickly denigrate and have like, we're gonna have this Avengers bubble. The Avengers bubble is going to be our main Avengers book, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and then a couple, like maybe 2 wildcard characters. And wildcard characters, I mean like they have to have MCU presence because that's what we're going for sales. So we're gonna go with maybe the Thunderbolt / New Avengers characters with like, Yelena Belova, because like, she's becoming very prominent. My other bubble characters are going to be, like I said, we're gonna have the Spider-Man world. We're gonna limit that down a little bit. We don't need all the Spider-Man spin-offs. There's way too many Spider-Man spin-offs. We're gonna cull the herd a little bit. We'll do 2 Spider-Man books, Amazing and Web of. We will do a Venom book, and it will be Eddie Brock because we're gonna go iconic. And we'll do 1 wild card character, and it will be I'll take the writers. I will break a pool cue into 2 pieces, and it could be the Gwen Stacy characters against like the other random symbiote characters, and you guys fight it out. Whoever wins, you get the 4th spot. Like, we need to get really, what I'm getting at is that we're going to pare the line down into defined little avenues. And once those are established and there's room for growth, we can expand those bubbles a little bit bigger, but we're limiting them down because there's too much stuff out there and it is watering down the line.
Okay.
I'd even do a
I think
Marvel.
that's
I would even do like a Marvel Knights bubble with like a Moon Knight character, a Ghost Rider character, like the darker ones. But yeah, I'm just saying we're gonna par it down a little bit. There's too much weird stuff out there. There's way too many Spider-Man spin-offs. There's too many X-Men spin-offs. There shouldn't be
yeah.
that many. That would be
Mhm.
my other thing is we're cutting the line.
Mm.
Yeah.
So John, next.
Similar sort of theme, I guess, and I think it ties back into my first one as well about legacy numbering, but just cutting back on the sheer number of events that seem to happen year by year.
Mhm.
I mean, this is probably going to be like the worst choice I could make in terms of, like sales and whatnot, but like, man, have we ever been oversaturated with
Mm.
like events in the last 15 to 20 years?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, just going back, like off the top of my head, we've had, well, at the moment we've got Avengers Armageddon. I
Yeah.
think we got the Queen in Black as well.
Yeah, that's coming
We've
up.
just had One World Under Doom, Blood Hunt.
DNX is about to start,
Um,
which is a X-Men Fantastic
go.
Four series.
We had the AXE Judgment Day crossover. We had Devil's Reign, Empire, King in Black,
Jack
War
in
of the
Black.
Realms,
Jack
Secret
Black.
Empire. I mean,
Jack in Black.
Jesus, there's so many events.
Yeah.
And like I say, going back to my first point as well about the numbering, like a lot of these kind of volumes of books just get interrupted constantly by having to tie into events all the time. Like there's
Yeah.
it makes it harder to tell like a coherent, contained story when like all of these big things are happening and the characters getting dragged into them, and like the stories that the writers are trying to tell are getting knocked off track because of having to play into whatever else is going on. So yeah, let's get rid of those. Maybe limit it to one or two major stories a year at most,
Well,
and
I
that's
agree
it.
with you completely in that I think they do way too many like big. They try to do events all the time, and like an event once in a while is a really good thing. But honestly, like I want to just take my go to do use this. But if I was Marvel editor, blah blah, which I will be in a moment, I wouldn't do it once a year
No.
because people are expecting it at least once a year,
Mm,
expecting one big Marvel crossover. That's why they do it. It's because Marvel have conditioned people to expect there to be at least one big major blah blah
Well,
blah
that
blah,
was
and then, but then it'll happen, and then fucking nothing again, no consequence, nothing comes of it.
yeah. I
mm-hmm.
mean, the 2010s was that was a prime example. Every year there was the big one story year. It was like every summer, and
But it
I
was
like
so
the
cool.
like the most consequential stuff I remember being is like, oh shit, now Nick Fury is the Watcher, and it's like, well, what does that mean?
Yes,
It just means we have an excuse to have Nick Fury Jr. show up.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like all this stuff happens, and it's so inconsequential, and they're doing it to create a big event that crosses over loads of things. But if it feels like it has no weight to it, then you wonder why anybody would do it to begin with. There's no like substance to it. And then if people know there's no substance to it, people probably aren't going to buy the book. I would love to see what the numbers have been for their big crossover books. Are they that much bigger, or are they just more books that they've done? And to John's point as well, it's so fucking irritating be reading a run, and then you're like in the middle of just some other fucking storyline for like 3 issues, and then back,
Mm.
and you're like, well, fuck, that's gonna crowbar, that's gonna ruin everything for
Yeah.
like your flow. You just have to fucking jump into this garbage.
So this is one we've talked about recently, but it was right after From the Ashes started, which was the big X-Men line after Krakoa ended. I think it
Mhm.
was 3 issues, and they had a crossover between all of the books, and it was like they haven't
Yes.
even established the dynamics of the teams yet under these new creative
Yes.
forces.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
It
what
was
was it
Fields
was?
of Hope you were reading, wasn't it? Where
Yeah, well, it
like
was
they
about
got to
it was about they had to get it out of the way because Hickman was going to use Xavier in the Cosmic Marvel relaunch. So they had to get Xavier off of Earth because his character was being held in prison in the Grey Malkin Institute. So they had to get him off Earth, and they needed to do the story to get him out there because Hickman's story was going to start up soon. So they wrote themselves into a corner with like, we have to have an event to justify why Xavier's not here for the event that he's about to be a part of.
and then it turns out it didn't really justify it at all.
No, it didn't just character people were out of character, and then Hickman's Cosmic Marvel wasn't as well received, and a lot of people thought it was boring. And we talked about it. All those books that they announced got canceled after like 5-6 issues.
Bingo.
Wasn't
Nobody
worth it.
gives a shit about it. Nobody cares about Cosmic Marvel.
I feel like that's pointed at me at this point.
It's pointed to whoever's listening. My other decision as Marvel editor in chief is the first one was clearly controversial. Will the second one be? Yes. We're gonna get rid of all the symbiotes.
Oh, that's surprising for you. All of them.
It's every fucking one of them.
Wow, even
Totally,
Venom.
they're all gone. Just I don't know, like a Luigi's Mansion vacuum or something sucks them up. I don't care how you do it. It's like because by now they've like they've dragged it through the dirt. Like it's not fun to read. I loved Carnage in the 90s. But you look at Carnage in the 90s, you even look at Venom in the 90s. Look at him now, you're like, what the fuck is this character? Like, what
happened?
is this? I'm not even just talking about Mary Jane as Venom, but when fucking Eddie Brock was Venom, like that King in Black shit and all that null. There was a part where this was kind of interesting. And then fucking Eddie Brock's son became Venom, and then his dog became Venom. Now Mary Jane is Venom, and then his son is a different symbiote, and Cletus Cassidy is whatever, and then fucking Eddie Brock was Carnage, but now he's not Carnage. Like it's so convoluted and stupid and horrible. I'm like, just X-Men it. No more symbiotes. Fucking just blanket wipe them, and then we don't have to put up with this shit anymore. Then we won't spend hours of this show every week of me complaining about Mary Jane being Venom. Done. Wiped. We can talk about something better. Done. Nobody has to worry about shitty symbiote stories, of which there have been more shitty symbiote stories than there have been good symbiote stories.
I can tell you that the symbiotes have changed a lot over the last 10 years. I can't think of a single one change that's been good. Like whether
No,
it's
they're
the
all
creation of Null or the symbiote planet that they discovered in Guardians of the Galaxy or the various people that have had it. I can't think of a single one that was like, that really changed the game.
the symbiote planet was a thing from the 90s.
Well, I just mean that like they went to the symbiote planet in Guardians of the Galaxy that Flash Thompson was a member of the team for.
Sure. Well, again, in my issue, no Flash Thompson as Venom. No, fuck that.
He's back
He's
to
out.
having no legs.
Good. Let him crawl on the streets. He's done. They're all done. You know, and then they can go to like a little like rehab thing where they're all like, "I used to be Venom," you know.
Some of them might
all
actually have to because it seems like it's a very addictive thing.
apparently so.
And
And
it
then,
apparently keeps some of them alive.
wow,
Yeah.
all symbiotes cut done.
John, what are your thoughts on Dylan's plan to remove all the symbiotes?
I mean, as someone who's read a lot of the Venom and symbiote related stuff over the last 10 years, I don't mind it. I know you have your issues because of where it's, where it started and where it's gone to. But for me, like it hasn't all worked, but it's part and parcel of storytelling is to kind of grow stuff out and not just do the same thing over and over again. So for me, they tried something new, tried something different, tried to make it bigger and better, and yeah, like I say, it hasn't always been successful, but I don't know.
Some
I
of
don't feel it's been that bad a run, to be honest.
some of the
Okay, you're
stories
fired.
though, I feel like
As editor-in-chief, you're fired.
I feel like a lot of like the stories could have like they could have pushed it more because it feels like everything they did were like almost half steps, half measures. Like if you look at Null for example, there's nothing exciting about that character design at all, you know? Like it just if you say like this is the god of all symbiotes, like this is the fucking man, and he just looks like a different costume for Marvel's Dracula. You know, like if you put him
Mm,
right beside Dracula, there's not much the way of difference. It just
hmm
feels like I said, it just feels like I'm of the opinion that you should take big swings, right? Because that's where, like I said, the most growth Marvel had was the big swings. Like Avengers Disassembled completely shook up what the Avengers meant. You know, because the Avengers were just dead in the fucking water for years, right? For better
hmm
or worse, Spider-Man got shook the fuck up by Mephisto deciding that for whatever reason he really liked the idea of them not being married anymore. Because again, it's not even like he kept Mary Jane as his own bride or something, which you could have done a story with as well. It's
mm
just like I'm just satisfied knowing you two aren't going to be married. Mephisto, hater of the year.
What a dick.
But yeah, like, you know, you could take a big swing, take a big swing. And I just feel like a lot of the ideas are they just weren't big enough. They weren't risky enough, they weren't grand enough. Because even stuff like, "Oh, we're going to make Mary Jane Venom." It's like we're just putting the symbiote on another person. We've done this before. It doesn't it like
Right.
because
Mm,
it's Spider-Man's girlfriend. It's like, yeah, that's different, but like is it different enough?
Really.
I don't know. I reserve judgment because I haven't got around to reading it yet, but I kind of like the idea of making Mary Jane like the main character in her own book rather than the supporting character in someone else's book. Like giving her some proper impetus as a character isn't necessarily a bad thing, but again, I need to get around to reading it to see what the actual execution is like.
I think the thing is if you're going to do that, she can never be a supporting character again. Because it's just going to be
Mm,
a demotion. You know, like
yeah.
I feel like she would have to permanently be capable of being a main character in her own book. Or a main
hmm
character in a team book or something along the lines of that. Because if you do that and then you step her back down to just being like Peter Parker's girlfriend or the girl that he's chasing after or even just his wife, like it's sort of like you can't go home again, you know? Like once you go on the
mm,
hero's journey, the hero's forever altered at the end of the journey. He's not the person who started that journey anymore. And we have now started Mary Jane on this path. She can never go back to just being Mary Jane.
no.
But it's comics, so you know, they'll just have some writer go, "Yeah, she will," and that's just it. That's just how it works.
Mm,
So, but so yeah, Dylan, you're getting rid of Venom, Carnage, Anti Venom, Red Goblin. You're getting rid of
toxin.
Toxin. Uh, what's that? The character, the symbiote that is part of Boomerang now, like Whiplash or something. It's a, yeah,
No idea.
yeah. Boomerang's got a
Hold
symbiote, but it's a different one.
on. I think that if we've got to the point where Boomerang has a
Yeah,
symbiote, we have fucked it up.
Mm,
that's what I was getting at. Like we're just putting the symbiote on a different person. It's like that's not a big enough idea.
Not that I hate Boomerang, but I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, he's gonna be in that new Spider-Man movie.
So, don't make him Venom.
That's true. I can't wait to read about that Boomerang character. Oh, he's a Venom now.
Oh, great. Well, now I care. Nobody cares.
No. Um. All right. Well, my third and final idea. Um. Get back into genre comics. It's risky. DC tried it with New 52, where DC was like, hey, we're going to have superhero comics, but we're also going to have some mystery comics, and we're going to have some horror comics, and we're going to have some war comics. We're going to have some Western comics. Like, Marvel, before the transition to Spider-Man and stuff, Marvel had a lot of success in the realm of romance comics, war comics, Western comics, etc. As an experiment, see what happens. Because I feel like the ideas that I have had and presented are very safe ones. Like get rid of this thing. Let's bubble these things up. Let's try some genre comics and see what happens as my experiment. Maybe not horror comics, just because I'm canceling a series of horror comics. I'm not putting.
Yeah, you already said horror comics are not going to work.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to go. It's going to be war comics and westerns. We're going to do. Well, it's not DC. We're going to do Sergeant Rock and the Unknown Soldier.
Two Gun Kid.
The Two Gun Kid.
There you go.
Was it
classic Avengers character?
Yeah, Jimmy John bit on him.
Everybody loves
money well spent.
There you go.
Just like Deadpool.
All right, John, what is your final big idea for your role as editor-in-chief?
My final idea is to make deaths matter again.
Oh, okay.
Because I think, there's been too many instances. Like, it's always been a thing in comics, but it just seems now to be even more egregious. Like, I found a few examples. Like, the Sentry died during King in Black back in 2023, and then he came back to life again in his own series, like a couple of years later. Doctor Strange died in a book called The Death of Doctor Strange in early 2022, and then was resurrected in October of that same year by Clea.
With Clea.
Yeah, like Doctor Doom dies at the end of One World Under Doom. Spoiler alert there, I should have said, but he sacrifices himself to save Valeria Richards. It's like a noble kind of end, and then he shows up again in the latest volume of Captain America, issue 12. And I guess the most egregious one was Miss Marvel dying in Amazing Spider-Man and then being resurrected in the Hellfire Gala, literally weeks later.
Yeah. No, so quick question on the Doctor Doom and Captain America. When I was reading that Captain America issue 1, it was set in the past with Captain America being assigned to go to Latveria. Do we know that book is still set in the past, or is it present day?
I think it's present day now.
Okay, fair enough.
I believe, yeah, they're going back. I think there's been some civil war in the aftermath of Doom's fall after One World Under Doom, and it's sort of about trying to bring about some order to Latveria. But yeah, in terms of deaths, there hasn't been some long-standing death really since I would say probably the last one we had was Wolverine's death.
Yes.
In 2014,
and then he was a couple of years.
Yeah, he didn't return until 2018, so it was 4 long years where he was out the picture. But kind of out the picture because there was still Old Man Logan
running around
and Laura Kinney Wolverine as well.
Good guy Sabretooth.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of that, it was quite brave of them to keep Wolverine dead for 4 years because everybody knew Wolverine was coming back. So the idea that they would be like, no, he's really dead, was quite admirable. But I think that underlies the bigger problem in that the popular characters will not die. Spider-Man's not going to die forever, or Daredevil, or Wolverine, or the characters that people want to read about aren't going to die. And that is an issue because it eliminates a little bit of the risk factor involved. You know what I mean? Well, if Spider-Man's not going to die in this situation, then how risky could it possibly be? But
that's fair enough, though. No one really expects Spider-Man to be taken off the board for years on end. But if it's a lesser character, even the Sentry,
Yeah.
dying in King in Black and then coming back a few years. Like, who
Not even,
cares?
dude. They fucking brought Ned Leeds back.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
are we doing?
So
Really?
there was an expression back in the day, and it's really funny when I say this out loud when you think about it. But like the only deaths that never come back are Uncle Ben, Bucky Barnes, and Jason Todd. And Jason Todd and Bucky Barnes are not only back, but are like the most popular they've ever fucking been. And Uncle Ben has been teased and came back like multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fine line with Uncle Ben.
So yeah, that's just really funny when you think about it in retrospect like that. But yeah, no, it is. I mean, for God's sakes, that was like part of the. I will always find a reason to talk about Peter David's X Factor run, but his second X Factor run in the 2000s, where they did the throwback to examinations, where the team was getting therapy from Doc Samson. Siren was in complete denial that her dad was dead. She was like, "Oh yeah, no, he's gonna come back. They'll come back." And he's like, "Well, what if he doesn't?" She's like, "No, he's an X-Man.
He will.
They always come back." And you know
He
what?
always come back.
He did.
He did.
He absolutely did. He's around now.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, he's representing Ireland.
Yep.
Right there,
In the online X-Men series that ended, it had like a 4-year run. I was like, there was a whole series where he was the main character of this online only comic. No idea.
Still kinds.
I'm for it. Like I said, I love Banshee, but that's just the Generation X fan in me. So, Dylan, you have the honors of having the last official act as editor-in-chief for Marvel being represented by the Smark Avengers.
I would bring Uncle Ben back from the dead. And I would also give him superpowers, and he hates Peter Parker. And he tells everybody who Peter Parker is, that he's Spider-Man. And then Peter Parker has to beat up the one person that he truly loves, which is Uncle Ben. And he can't do it, so then Uncle Ben like stabs him in the throat with a knife.
You know that.
I mean, you're joking about this, but there's a new character being introduced in the 1000th issue, a new bad guy. Who's to say it couldn't be Uncle Ben under the mask?
Could be.
With great power comes great responsibility, and now I'm responsible for kicking your ass.
I thought up like a third thing, and I've already forgotten what it was because I was so determined to do the Uncle Ben bit, which is quite frustrating on my part because I was like, "This would be good. This would be really funny."
Hoisted.
And then they're like, "No, do the Uncle Ben bit as like a bit, and then circle back to the real idea." Now I've forgotten what that real idea was. One of them was going to be there's too many X-Men. We should do like some sort of event where we like get rid of a lot of the X-Men. I think
a decimation, some would say.
I mean, that's a bit much, but sure, something like that. You know, one of them was to like delist a lot of the Avengers because, as we know, there are way too many Avengers. We've drafted a lot of them. Ridiculous. Just
we
delist
drafted
all of them.
All but 3 of them.
Fun, fuck them. Like, there's no need for that to be so ridiculous. Like, we need to focus on stuff. Oh, I remember what it was now. This is what I was gonna do. Is Marvel have a really annoying thing where they try to synergize their comics with the MCU, and it never works because they're different entities. But every time and I understand why they want to try to do that, but what they should be doing is if a new Spider-Man film is coming out, then that's when you have the killer Spider-Man story. This killer Spider-Man story shouldn't just align with whatever happens in the film. For example, whenever the Tobey Maguire films came out, they did the storyline where Peter Parker now has organic webbing because that's what happens in the film. Nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted that. You know, there's loads of stuff like that where they're trying to be the comics and the films are very clearly different universes, very clearly different characters, which gives the films a good blank slate to kind of like, well, we don't have to be a one-to-one to the comics. We can do whatever we want. And to that point, the comics shouldn't be like, well, we should do a one-to-one and copy the film. That's bizarre and bananas. Doesn't make any sense. They should just try to stay as separate as they can. But still, whenever a new film comes out, at least try to put up a big, like, oh, Spider-Man, the film is coming out. Let's try to do a big Spider-Man story. Or Avengers, like Doctor Doom is coming out. Let's do a big Doctor Doom story. something like that. Like synergize, but don't copy the
Yeah.
cinematic universe, because that's a waste of time, and you're going to lose both sets of people. The benefit of having the films is you're getting people that aren't comic book readers who might just into the comics, and the same with the comics. You might have people who might not always go see that film. They might, because it's got somebody involved with them and it's a different story. To make the two of them the same defeats the purpose.
I think that would be a fun episode to do. Would be like, what are some of your least favorite examples of synergy between comics and the movies and television? Because, like, as you were saying that, I was just running through the Rolodex of things that have happened in the comics that I was either confused by or couldn't stand because they were just doing their best to, like, this is how it's like in the thing that you watched, so you should read the book too.
Yes.
And
We could do that. We could make that an episode.
oh, I think I easily, like I said, I got fucking 2 on top of my head right now.
Okay.
And they're both
Save them.
DC. Yeah, they're both DC. So it's not even Marvel. And Marvel's worse, in my opinion, when it comes to their synergy stuff.
Wouldn't it be cool if The Rock was Black Adam? That'd be awesome.
You know, they never actually made Black Adam look like The Rock, which I had to say, I can appreciate. They didn't make him, they didn't shave his head. They didn't make him Samoan.
It turns out, in the long run, correct choice.
They were like, yeah, all that happened was they made Black Adam a member of the Justice League for like a hot minute, and then that didn't last. Ah, well, you know, what are you gonna do?
Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm with you there. I think the attempts at synergy just feels pathetic. It feels pitiful. It's like begging, like, hey, come on, you want to read us too, right? You like this? You should like this too.
Just do your own thing.
I saw so many fan theories, by the way, that just speaking of synergy, of like people going the opposite direction. There's so many people who are like wanting that Ned Leeds character to turn into Hobgoblin, and I feel like if the first time you get like a cinematic portrayal of the Hobgoblin and it's that particular version, I feel like Dylan and John would revolt.
We would be. Yeah. I would say we'd be very upset.
I saw someone do like a Photoshop of what it would look like, and I went, no, I don't like that.
That's even worse.
Yeah, just they put a yellow filter on it, which felt bad to begin with, and then they made his eyes red, and I went, I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
No, sir.
All right, no, I agree. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the synergy stuff. John, what are your feelings on synergy?
I can understand the desire to kind of, draw potential new eyes to the comics and stuff and say, hey, look at this. But I don't know. I don't think it benefits the comics itself.
No.
Like, again, it's sort of forcing things on writers, trying to shoehorn stuff in, like with the events as well.
Yeah.
Where maybe this isn't necessarily their plan, and then now they've all of a sudden got to squeeze in a story with Boomerang because he's going to be in the new Spider-Man movie. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
Good.
That's
Doesn't feel good.
No.
Well,
I think we'd be great CEOs or whatever. Editors. We could be CEOs too, but editors in chief, like, clearly we were fucking good at this, you know.
I mean, Dylan.
Don't trust us with the finances.
No, probably not. Would be. I took a bunch of accounting courses in college as a business student, and I wouldn't recommend I do it.
I could probably do it.
Yeah, okay. Dylan, you could be the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the HBIC, the EIC, and the young MC of Marvel Comics.
Not enough titles. Any more titles, please.
All right. Oh boy. Hey, speaking of, I have nowhere to go with this. John, what's the most recent movie you watched?
The most recent movie I watched was The Village of the Damned.
Oh, okay. Tell us a little bit more about The Village of the Damned.
So this was the 1960 version, not the 1995 remake by John Carpenter. But it was, like sort of quaint British horror from back in the day. So lots of creepy kids with their like bleach blonde hair and glowing eyes, using their mind control on people. Um, and yeah, it was kind of fun. Didn't overstay its welcome. I think it was like about an hour and 17 minutes long.
Good hour 19, hour
So
15. Love it.
Oh yeah.
yeah, just gets in there, does the job, gets out. Perfect. That's what I want from a movie.
And a lover.
Good.
That being said, John, what is our movie count at for the year for you?
So Village of the Damned was number 738.
Very nice. 738. That's not bad considering we're in the middle of June, I think officially now, but for those it's
Mm.
probably like beginning of August. I think middle of August I'd want to say probably if you're watching this now. I love our weird
Sure.
time scale. That being said, John, if they want to see your thoughts on Village of the Damned and any other damned things that you watched this year, where can they go to find that?
They can head to Letterboxd and find me at Big John Bowski, all one word.
And Dylan, aside from advertising your OnlyFans where you only brush your hair, what
Yeah.
are you up to during the week?
I do a radio show on Bounce Digital Radio. It's free. You can listen to it on your web browser. Every Monday nights, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock on Bounce Digital Radio. Just click on the link at 9 o'clock UK time. You can listen to cool music and questionable banter, which is fun. I stream sometimes where I draw pictures at Spooky LaRue on Twitch, and then I animate those things and put them on YouTube at Team Crows and I put them on TikTok at Team Crow Studios. And that's it.
I listened to your radio show a little bit yesterday while I was drunk in an airport in Detroit. It was
Did you
very,
like it?
it was very enjoyable.
Thank you.
My
What did
flight
they
was
play a song
boarding.
you like?
I was drunk in an airport in Detroit, Michigan. I just remember that I was listening to your voice.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you want to listen to my voice, I have another show called Large Old Cup, which is a spoken word podcast that might be playing around with in the future and doing some different things with that will be very personal and potentially very ugly. And I'm kind of excited about that from an art standpoint. So Large Old Cup, you can find the link to that in our description. It's on Spotify as well and other podcast platforms. I also have New Number Ones, which is our sister show here on the YouTube channel, where I find a new number one. And this last week, it was Banana Number One from Bad Idea Comics, which left a very big impression on me because of how the shift between story one and story two, I keep saying it, but it was whiplash inducing and very uncomfortable. Like I recorded the
Delightful.
episode immediately after reading it. It was great.
Hmm.
By the way, another review that I read for that book said utter dog shit. So, tale of two cities on that one if you look at it that way.
Wow.
Yep. But you can find New Number Ones here every Sunday on this very YouTube channel. Aside from that, I think it's gonna do it for today. We'll see you guys later. Farewell.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.